In the heart of North Africa, where endless deserts stretched to the horizon, a river flowed that gave life to the land. The Nile. Its waters did more than nourish fields. It gave birth to one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known. More than 5,000 years ago, on the fertile banks of this river, a people rose. They built monuments that defy time. They worshipped gods who ruled heaven and earth. And they believed that death itself was not the end, but only a doorway. This is the story of ancient Egypt, the kingdom of gods and kings, the kingdom of eternity. The Nile was Egypt's lifeline. Each year the river flooded with a rhythm as steady as the heartbeat of the earth. When the waters receded, they left behind a gift, dark, fertile soil, rich with life. In the middle of barren deserts, the Nile created a ribbon of green. Wheat and barley grew in abundance. Papyrus reeds lined its banks, becoming the paper on which Egypt wrote its memory. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus once declared, "Egypt is the gift of the Nile." And he was right. Without it, there would have been no pharaohs, no pyramids, no civilization. But rivers alone do not build empires. Around 3100 BCE, a leader emerged, King Narmer, sometimes called Menes. He united Upper and Lower Egypt, two lands divided by history, into one kingdom. And from that unification, one of the world's longest-lasting civilizations began its rise. Egypt was a kingdom of order. The Egyptians called it Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, harmony. It was not just a belief, but the law of the universe. At the top of this order stood the pharaoh. More than a king, more than a man. To his people, he was divine, a living God who walked among mortals. His duty was to uphold Ma'at, to protect Egypt, to ensure the sun rose each day and the Nile continued to flow. Beneath him were the priests, guardians of temples where gods were worshipped with offerings and rituals. Scribes, masters of hieroglyphics, recorded every decree, every harvest, every victory. Craftsmen and builders shaped stone into monuments that would endure for millennia. At the foundation were the farmers, men and women who worked the land, growing food to sustain the kingdom and laboring to build the monuments of eternity. Together, they created a society unlike any the world had seen. Nowhere is Egypt's genius more visible than in the monuments they left behind. The pyramids. Colossal stairways of stone rising from the desert as if to pierce the heavens. The Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza was built more than 45 centuries ago. To this day, it stands as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the last still standing. Its stones, each weighing several tons, were hauled and placed with astonishing precision, without modern machines, without wheels, only with ingenuity, manpower, and faith in eternity. The pyramids were more than tombs. They were monuments to immortality. They were statements of power. They were messages carved in stone, proclaiming that the pharaohs would never die. And the pyramids were only the beginning. Across Egypt, temples rose like mountains of stone. Karnak, Luxor, Abu Simbel. Their columns towered like forests. Their walls were alive with hieroglyphs, telling stories of gods and kings. Statues of pharaohs, carved on a colossal scale, gazed down upon mortals with timeless authority. These temples were more than places of worship. They were theaters of power, where gods and kings alike were honored for eternity. But Egypt was not only obsessed with life, it was consumed by death. For the Egyptians believed that death was not the end, but the beginning of a journey. The body was prepared through the sacred process of mummification, washed, anointed, wrapped in linen, protected with amulets. Organs were carefully preserved in jars, each guarded by a divine spirit. The dead faced a perilous journey into the underworld. There their heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at. If the heart was light and pure, the soul entered paradise. If heavy with sin, it was devoured by a monster, and existence was erased. To guide them, the Egyptians created the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers written to protect the soul in the afterlife. This belief in eternity shaped every part of their civilization. It gave birth to their art, their rituals, their monuments. Egypt did not build for years. It did not build for centuries. It built for forever. But Egypt's greatness was not only carved in stone, it was written in knowledge. They invented one of the world's first writing systems, hieroglyphics, a language of pictures and symbols etched into temple walls, painted on papyrus scrolls. Through hieroglyphics, the Egyptians recorded laws, prayers, stories, and history. Scribes, trained in this sacred art, became the memory of Egypt. Without them, the kingdom would have been forgotten. The Egyptians studied medicine, treating wounds, setting bones, and using herbs to heal. They charted the stars, creating one of the first solar calendars, 365 days, divided into seasons of flooding, planting, and harvest. They mastered geometry and engineering, building monuments whose precision still astonishes the world. Egypt was a civilization of builders, dreamers, scientists, and storytellers. Yet Egypt was also a land of music, art, and daily life. Families lived in homes of sun-baked mud brick. They ate bread and onions, drank beer, and wore light linen clothes woven from flax. Farmers toiled in the fields, but festivals brought joy, dances, music, celebrations in honor of the gods. Art filled their world. Tombs were painted with vivid scenes of hunts, banquets, and journeys. Statues of gods and pharaohs were carved with perfect symmetry, symbols of divine power and balance. To the Egyptians, art was not decoration. It was magic, a way to preserve life, a way to make eternity visible. Egypt was a land of peace, but also of war. During the New Kingdom, pharaohs like Thutmose III and Ramses the Great led armies far beyond Egypt's borders. They conquered Nubia to the south, battled the Hittites to the north, and expanded Egypt's power across the ancient world. The Battle of Kadesh, fought under Ramses II, became one of history's first recorded battles. Though neither side claimed victory, it gave birth to something extraordinary. The world's first known peace treaty. Egypt's armies rode chariots, wielded bronze weapons, and defended their lands with strength and strategy. But their power, like all power, was not eternal. Time is a patient conqueror. After centuries of glory, Egypt weakened. Foreign powers swept across its borders, Assyrians, Persians, and finally the Greeks. Alexander the Great marched into Egypt and founded a new dynasty, the Ptolemies. From this line came Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. Brilliant, ambitious, legendary. She sought to restore her kingdom's glory, but Egypt was caught between the rising powers of Rome. With Cleopatra's death, Egypt fell into Roman hands. The age of the pharaohs was over. But Egypt never truly died. Its temples still rise from the desert sands. Its pyramids still pierce the sky. Its gods, its myths, its legends live on in our imagination. For 3,000 years, the people of the Nile built for eternity. And in a way, they succeeded. Because as long as the Nile flows, as long as the pyramids stand, the story of ancient Egypt will never be forgotten. This was Egypt, the kingdom of eternity. Thank you so much for journeying back in time with us. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into our incredible past. See you in the next one.